Nigeria World Cup dream might be slipping away after a frustrating 1-1 draw with South Africa. From manager questionable selection to awful pitch condition, there is plenty to unpack. So today we break down the 5 things we learned from South African 1, Nigerian 1. But before we dive into it, if you are new here, welcome to the channel. Or if you have been vibing with me for a while, you know the drills. We're on the road to 10k subscribers. So like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's dive into it. The 1-1 draw against South Africa in Bloemfontein feels less like a point gained and more of 2 points dropped, because that result cemented Bafana as the clear leaders in this group. Why the Super Eagles are left frustrated again? But instead of focusing on disappointment, let's break down what actually happened, how Eric Chelle set us up, and why we couldn't get the job done despite fighting hard. We came into this game with no Victor Osimhen, which already felt like climbing a mountain without boots. So Eric Chelle lined us up in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Fredrick up front, Tax with leading the line, Wilfred Ndidi, Dele Bashuru as a double pivot, protecting the defense, while we had Moses Simon and Ademola Lookman providing width, and Alex Iwobi floating in the central 10. At the back, Benjamin Fredrick and Ekong paired in the central defense, with Bassey and Olaino as the fullbacks. From the beginning, it was clear we were sitting deep. South Africa were at the side enjoying possession, stringing passes together and looking to stretch us wide. Our plan: stay compact, stay disciplined, and hit them on counter with pace of Simon and Lookman and Iwobi. But let's be honest, that pitch was a disgrace. We saw how many players who were down clutching their legs. There are many slips and awkward bounces changed the game. We are not making excuses, but the stadium choice was intentional. We all know South Africa have better grounds, and yet that was the stage. And it cost us early. In the 10th minute, Olaino went out injured, and that disrupted our rhythm completely. Bright Osai Samuel came on, but the chemistry on that side was already broken. And that's the kind of setback you don't plan for. Then the nightmare struck. In the 25th minute, a simple South African attack down the front. Low ball whipped in, and William Troost Ekong, our captain, tried to clear it. Instead, it ended up slicing the ball into his own net. It felt like deja vu, but credit to us, we didn't crumble. Just before halftime, in the 44 minutes, we found a response. Dele Bashuru, who was excellent in those half spaces, delivered a teasing ball into the box, and there was Calvin Bassey at the far post. Yes, a centre-back popping up like a striker to smash it past the keeper. 1-1, and that was our lifeline. Then came the second half, and it didn't bring the firework we hoped for. Then Eric Chelle made the big call, taking off Fredrick for Tolu Arokodare. And for a short spell it worked. Arokodare added power, pressed high, and even had a near miss, but we couldn't turn half chances into killer moments. Now if we look at the stats, it tells us exactly what our eyes saw. This was a tight game, low on clear chances. Now in possession, South Africa edged it, 53.8% to our 46.2%. Not a huge difference, but enough to show that they controlled the ball more slightly. And on shots, South Africa had 5, we had 4, but the real kicker is each side only managed 1 shot on target the entire game. For a Club World Cup of this magnitude, both teams barely tested the goalkeepers. Now on corner, Nigeria edged it here, 3-2, but again, none of the set piece turned into real danger. And now this is where contest mattered. The pitch didn't allow either side to build fluency. Passes bubbled, touches misfired, players were sleeping. Instead of sleek combination, it was about who could make fewer mistakes. From our perspective, this is not about being blown away. We weren't second best, but we weren't clinical either. South Africa controlled the tempo, yes, but they didn't cave us open. The only goal came from our own captain mistake. Meanwhile, our equalizer came from a defender arriving late in the box. That sums it up. 2 teams cancelling each other out, relying on moments rather than quality attacking play. That's frustrating because we know the talent we have. On paper, the Super Eagles should be flying, but in reality, we are grinding out draws. The bigger issue is what this result means for our qualification. Every draw feels like a defeat at this stage. South Africa remains in control of the group, and we are still chasing shadows. But now, let's talk about the first and obvious takeaway. Calvin Bassey, who was arguably our best player on the pitch. And to be honest, that says everything about how bad our overall performance was. Because when your centre back is the standout, it usually means your attack didn't do enough. But credit where it's due. Bassey was outstanding, a resolute display in defense, and crucially, the man who delivered our equalizer. He stepped up when it matters the most. Look at the numbers: 90 minutes played, 1 goal scored, 5 clearances, 0 time dribbled past, 4 out of 4 area duel won. That's leadership, that's composure, and that's the fight. Bassey carried us at times, and without him, this game could have ended in a straight defeat. But here is the sad part: when your defender is your goal scorer, it highlights how little our attacking unit produced. Bassey was brilliant, but he shouldn't be the one we are relying on to save our World Cup hopes. Now, the second thing we learn is about our goalkeeper. Stanley Nwabali, he finished with a 6.5 rating, and while it wasn't a game full of save, he showed decent command on his areas. The stat tells you the story: one save from inside the box, 1 punch, 36 touches, 3 clearances. That shows he wasn't just waiting on the line. He was proactive, stepping off the line to relieve pressure and dealing with crosses whenever South Africa looked threatening. The own goal from Ekong was ash on him. There's nothing a keeper can do when a defender slices it into his own net. But credit to Nwabali, he stayed calm afterward, organized our backline, and didn't let the mistake rattle the team further. Overall, it wasn't a spectacular night for him, but it was steady, composed, reliable, and exactly what you need in tight qualifiers like this. But the third thing we learned is that Benjamin Fredrick is growing into his role with real maturity. For a young defender, he played with calmness and authority in one of the most pressurized fixtures in African football. He dropped a 7.1 rating, and the numbers backed it up: 12 clearance, 51 touches, 86% pass accuracy, 2 out of 2 ground duel won, 0 times dribbled past. Even in the air, he held his own, winning 1 out of 2 area duels. But it wasn't just the stats. The eye test showed composure beyond his years. He anticipated danger, stayed switched on, and formed a solid partnership with Bassey. At no point did he look rattled or out of place. If anything, Fredrick's performance is one of the few positives we can take, alongside Bassey. He gave us defensive security. The problem is when your best performers are both centre-back, it tells you the balance of the team is wrong. The fourth thing we learned is Tolu Arokodare brought energy our attack desperately needed. Fredrick, who started up front, offered almost nothing in terms of movement or threats, and it left us burnt for the large part of the first half. When Tolu came on, the difference was noticeable. He finished with a 6.7 rating, and on paper, the stat don't look flashy. 45 minutes played, 1 shot block, 10 touches, 71 pass accuracy. But this is where the eye test matters. He stretched the South African backline with his runs, battled physically with their defenders, and looked like he could make something happen. He unsettled them in a way Fredrick never managed. Even though it didn't lead to a goal, Arokodare gave us a vocal point. Someone willing to occupy centre backs, create space for Lookman and Simon, and actually test the defense. He might not be the finished product, but his cameo proved he offers more dynamism than Fredrick in games like this. And the final thing we learned is that while the pitch played a massive role in this result, Eric Chelle selection didn't help us at all. Starting William Truss Ekong against a South African side full of pace and physicality was a gamble, and it backfired. Ekong ended up scoring the own goal, and he struggled to cope with the quick transition. Meanwhile, Tolu Arokodare, man who scored our last 2 goals, on the bench from the start was a huge mistake. By the time he came on, the damage has already been done. With that said, it's not just Eric Chelle's fault that we are in this position. We are paying the price of years of instability. The past 2 managers failed to get results early in the group. Eric Chelle has inherited a mountain to climb. His decisions today were questionable, yes, but the bigger problem is the hole we already dug ourselves into. But now to the harsh reality. Even with all the talent we have in this squad, we are staring at the possibility of missing out in the World Cup. Not because of one game or one coach, but because of a string of poor decisions, wasted opportunity, and inconsistency at every level. So that's the video, my friend. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Good.